Hello everyone, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, I'm Maddie. I run EdTech Classroom, the blog, podcast, and of course YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing how to create a quiz assignment in Google Classroom. If you are looking for a complete tutorial video on how to use all of the different features of Google Classroom, I will have another tutorial video linked for you in the description down below to check out. In today's video, as I mentioned, we're going to be focusing on how to create a quiz assignment. So without further ado, let's get started. Right now we are in Google Classroom and we're looking at the Classwork tab. To get started in creating a quiz assignment, first you want to click on this button right here that says Create. Once I click on Create, you'll see we have this drop-down menu with several different options. Typically, you're most likely clicking on this first choice here that says Assignment, but because we're looking to create a quiz, we're going to click on this second option here that says Quiz Assignment. When I click on Quiz Assignment, you'll see that it looks very similar to what you normally see when you are creating an assignment in Google Classroom. However, one main difference here that you might notice is that it has gone ahead and attached a blank quiz or a Google Forms file here down below. We'll click on this in just a minute to actually begin editing our quiz, but for now, let's go ahead and give our assignment or our quiz a title. I'm going to call this Example Quiz. Here, if you would like, you can go ahead and type out some instructions. This is optional, but I do recommend filling out the instructions tab if you think that that would be useful for your students. And then when you're ready, you can click on this button right here that says Blank Quiz to open up the Google Form file. So I'll click on Blank Quiz and you'll see that now it's taken us to this blank Google Form and we can go ahead and proceed with creating our quiz assignment. Now, the first thing that you'll want to do is you will also want to give this quiz a title. I typically recommend titling the Google form something similar or the exact same to what you've titled the assignment in Google Classroom. It can be easy for you as the teacher to keep track of and is also easy for students to be able to know what they're working on. So I'm going to go ahead and just give this the title of Example Quiz. Click off to the side. Now you'll see that it still is titled Blank Quiz up here in the top left-hand corner. So if I'd like, I can go ahead and rename this as well so that they match. Here under form description, this is a place where you also could type out some directions if you would like. I'm going to go ahead and skip over that, but that's what I recommend putting in this place right here. Now down below, you'll see that this has already automatically added our first question for us. It has the title Untitled Question with one multiple choice option. So I'm going to go ahead and click on where it says Untitled Question, and I'm going to type in a sample quiz question. So I'm going to type in which of the following is not one of the Great Lakes. This is just an example that I'm doing for the video. So now that I've added my question here, again, this is a multiple choice question type, I can go ahead and start typing in my options. So I'm going to first type in Superior, then I'm going to type in Michigan, then I'm going to type in Erie, and then for my fourth option, I'm going to type in Salt. So now you'll see I've added in my 4 multiple choice options. Now because this is a quiz, we want it to be able to auto grade so that the Google form knows what the correct answer is. So what you can do is to add an answer key, you'll want to click on this button right here that says Answer Key. So I'll click on Answer Key, and now you'll see that a couple things have appeared. First, in this top right-hand corner of the question box, there's a place for us to assign a certain number of points to this question. I'm going to go ahead and choose 1 point here. You can also type directly in that field to add the number of points that you would like. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the answer, the correct answer to the multiple choice question, which is Salt here. If you'd like, you can also add some answer feedback for students to be able to review after they turn in their quiz. I'm going to skip over that, but if you'd like to add some specific feedback about the question, you can type in that directly here. Then I'm going to click Done. And now you'll see that the answer choice has been added. That way, when students submit the quiz will actually auto grade for you. So if a student gets this question right, they will get 1 point as we assigned it in the answer key. The next thing that you'll want to add is I like to make my questions required in quizzes. That way students make sure that they fill out each of the questions. So now that we've added our first multiple choice question, I'm going to show you how to add a short answer response. So to add another question in your quiz, you can go ahead and click on this plus button right here that says add question. And now you'll see a blank field appears for us to add in the question. So for this one, I'm going to say Sacramento is the capital of what state? So now we want this to be a short answer question. So I'm going to click on this drop down menu and I'm going to choose the option that says short answer. You'll see that there are lots of different question types that you can incorporate. For quizzes, I typically find myself using the checkboxes, multiple choice, or short answer and paragraph the most, but there are some other options here as well that you can play around with. So I'm going to click on short answer, and now you'll see that we still have this answer key button that appears. So I can click on answer key. Now this one has assigned this automatically 10 points since it's a short answer, but you can change it if you would like. I'm going to change this just to be 1 point for the purpose of this video, but of course you can choose the number of points that you think makes the most sense. So now here, what I am going to do is I can type in the correct answer. Now the correct answer is going to be California. However, I still want Google Forms to count this short answer response as correct if students type in CA, for example. So what's really neat about these short answer responses, if there are multiple different spellings or ways that students might respond to this question correctly, you can actually click on this button here that says add a correct answer to add multiple different versions of correct answers. That way Google Forms is able to account for all of the different ways that students might correctly respond. This can be particularly useful if you're looking at, using numbers, for example. If the correct answer is 5, you could write out the word 5, or you could include the number 5. Just to give you an example of why you might want to have multiple correct answers. Then what you can do is if you would like to mark all other answers as incorrect, you can check this here and Google Forms will automatically mark other answers that are not these two as incorrect. Then again, as I showed you guys with the previous question, you can click on this button right here to add answered feedback if you would like to add specific feedback about this specific question. Then when you are done, you can go ahead and click the button that says done. And you'll see that we have the question, the short answer question that we put together. We have a place for students to type in their responses, and then we have the correct answers that we put in here, along with the answer key saying that this question is worth 1 point. I'm going to mark this as required, and then lastly, I'm going to show you one other example of how you can create questions here. So I clicked the add question button right here to add a new question, and this one I'm going to type in, what is the state fruit of Florida? So for option 1, I'm going to type in orange. Option 2, I'm going to type in strawberry. Option 3, I'm going to type in blueberry. And option 4, I'm going to type in grapefruit. Now for this one, I would like to add some image examples as well. There's lots of different reasons why you might want to add images depending on what you're doing for this activity. But let's say that I want to add some image examples to this multiple choice. The way that you would do that is you would click on the cell of the answer choice that you want to add an image for. Then you're going to move your mouse all the way to the right hand side and you're going to click on that button that says add image. First, you can upload an image directly from your computer if you'd like. You can insert an image from your camera by URL, photos. I'm going to go ahead and click on Google image search, and I'm going to search for a picture of an orange. So I typed in the word orange, and I like this image here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it and then press insert. And now this image of an orange has been added. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for strawberry here. I'll search strawberry. And I'm going to choose this image. Actually, I'm going to choose this one down here. I'll click insert. Next, I'm going to do this again for blueberry. And I'm going to choose this image. And then one more, I'm going to do the same thing for grapefruit here. So just showing you an example of how you can actually add in some images to these response questions. can be a nice way to incorporate some visual aids as part of your quizzes in Google Forms. Oops, so I'm going to click on the image and then I'm going to click insert. And now you'll see I've added 4 different fruit images for this question. So now the last step of what I'll want to include is I will want to add that answer key. Again, I can choose the number of points. I'm going to choose 1 and I will click on the correct answer. Then I'll click done. And so now orange has been marked as the correct answer. So that is how you can create different quiz questions in Google Classroom. I'm going to click on required for this one to make it a required response for students. And then when you're done, what you can do is you can go back to Google Classroom. So I'm going to go back to Google Classroom here, and the form is currently attached. Once I assign it to students, this will rename itself to be example quiz as we named it on the Google form. Now let's take a look at the right-hand side of the screen here. So first you'll see up at the top we have this for section. So right now this is going to be assigned to my EdTech class, which is the class that we're currently working in Google Classroom. If you teach multiple different classes, you can click on this drop-down menu and select additional classes as well. Then in this option here, you'll see currently all students are selected. If this is a quiz that you want every student in your class to take, you'll want to just leave this option here on all students. But let's say you want to only assign it to specific students. You can actually click on this drop-down menu, uncheck all students, and then select the students that you want to assign the quiz to. I'm going to go ahead and just assign this to all students. Then next down below here, you'll see that we have an option to assign a certain number of points to this quiz. I'm going to choose this one to be 3, but you can keep it at 100, or if you'd like, you can click on the drop-down menu and make this be ungraded. Now, typically quizzes are going to be graded, so I am going to assign a certain number of points here. However, it is up to you what you'd like to do with that. Then down below here, if you would like to add a due date, you can do that by clicking on the drop-down menu and then assigning a due date here. So if I click on the drop down, I can choose a specific day. Let's say I want this to be due tomorrow. I can click on the date and it will be due on Friday, August 12th, which is tomorrow for students. And then here, now you'll see underneath that we have a topic. The topic is a really useful way to stay organized in Google Classroom. In my complete Google Classroom tutorial for beginners, I do outline or explain how to use these topics to stay organized. But what you can do is you can just click on click on the drop-down menu, no topic, and then you can assign it to a certain unit, for example, or whatever topics you've created. So let's say this is going to be a Unit 1 quiz. I can click on Unit 1, and now this will be organized under the umbrella of Unit 1. I will show you what that looks like when we go back to the classwork tab in a bit. Now down below here, you'll see there is also an option for you to add a rubric. I do have a complete tutorial video on how to use rubrics in Google Classroom. So if you're looking for some more information specifically about utilizing this rubric option, I will have that video tutorial linked for you in the description down below. I'll click on this just briefly to show you. You can either create a rubric in Google Classroom, you can reuse one that you've already created, or you can import a rubric from Google Sheets. I'm going to leave this blank now because my quiz, it doesn't really have too much detail to it, so it's not necessary for me to add a rubric. However, that is a really handy feature if you are looking to incorporate one. Then the last thing that we'll want to do now that we have completed our quiz is we'll want to go up here to the top right-hand corner. You'll see we have this assign button. If you want to assign this to students immediately, you can click this button right here that says assign. However, if you would like to either assign this later or maybe save this as a draft, what you can do is you can click on this drop-down menu, and to assign it now, you can click assign. To schedule a date that this will go live for students, you can click on this button right here that says schedule. Let's say you want this to be released to students at a specific time or a specific date and time. You can click that button here. Or let's say you're not quite done with creating your quiz and you want to save this as a draft for you to refer back to later. You can click on the option that says Save Draft. I'm going to go ahead and assign this to students. So I'll click the Assign button. And now you'll see that we are back on the Classwork tab, and you'll see the 2 topics that I was mentioning earlier that I had created. We have the Unit 1 topic and the Unit 2 topic. You'll see that our example quiz has been sorted underneath Unit 1 and has been assigned to students. So if I click on Example Quiz, you'll see that the directions would be right here for students, and the number of students that have currently turned it in are 0, and the number of students who have been assigned this activity are 2, because that's how many students I have in my Google Classroom. Yours will likely be much more if you have more students in your class than just 2. So now what you can do is you can then wait for students to respond to the quiz, and I'll show you what the student perspective looks like now. So I'm going to click on example quiz, and it's going to open up in a new tab. This is the view that students would have as they are working through the quiz. So if I included some directions, it would be up at the top here, and then you'll see we have these different answer questions that are falling here down below. So I can go ahead and respond to these different questions as a student. I can click on the different results. So let's say I choose Michigan, California, and Orange. And when I click submit, it says that my response has been recorded, and because this quiz is self-grading, as a student, I could actually automatically see the score that I got on this quiz. So if I click on this button here that says view score, you'll see that I can view my actual score. So you'll see I got the first question wrong here. So I got 2 out of 3 points. I got the first question wrong and the second 2 questions correct. Now, one thing you might have noticed in the previous tab when we were looking at this this form submission here, you might notice that there's this button right here that says submit another response. So I did not adjust the settings of this quiz, and I made it so that students are allowed to submit multiple different responses to this quiz. Now that is likely something that you would want to change, so we're going to now go back into the Google form, back into the quiz assignment, and make a couple of adjustments to our settings. So I'm going to go back to Google Classroom, and I am going to click on the 3 dots for the drop-down menu here. I'm going to click on Edit, then I'm going to click on Example Quiz. I'm going to click on the pencil button to be able to edit this form. So you'll see that the response has been recorded, and you'll see that we have the general summary, everyone in the class who submitted this, we have individual question responses, and then we have individual student responses here. Now there's a couple of settings that I really need to adjust in order for this form to actually be complete. So the first setting that I did not adjust the first time that I need to correct is I need to make sure that students can only submit this form 1 time. So I'm going to click on the settings button right here, and what I can do is I can scroll down here, and I am going to click on this drop-down menu under responses, and I'm going to check this option here that says limit to 1 response, because we only want students to be able to respond to this question 1 time. So I've checked this button so that students can only submit the quiz 1 time, excuse me. So I've selected this, so now a student is only able to complete the quiz 1 time. They aren't able to go back in and submit multiple different responses. Another thing that I would like to add to this is I want to know which student has responded to which quiz. So previously, if we go back and we look at these responses, I actually don't know who the student is who submitted this response. And that's something that's very important. We want to make sure that we know which student has responded to which quiz, unless you want this to be anonymous for some reason. So I'm going to go back to settings, and I'm going to scroll down here, and I'm going to make sure that the form is collecting email addresses so that I know which student has responded to each quiz. That way, a specific email address will be assigned to the quiz. Another way you can do that is you can also go to the questions, and you can just add a question here that says name for students to add their name to it. I do like to add the email address, however, because I think that that's just a really simple way to make sure that the person whose email address is being used to complete the form is actually the student, and students aren't typing in other students' names, for example. So those are 2 settings that you may want to adjust. Adding in the email so that you know who is responding to each quiz, whose quiz belongs to who. That way you can grade their quizzes more easily. And then also going into the settings and making sure that you are limiting to 1 response. So that is how you create a quiz in Google Classroom. That was a quick tutorial on how to get started. There are other ways that you can make your quizzes more complex. but hopefully that gives you a general idea of how you can use Google Classroom to assign quizzes to your students. Thank you so much for watching today's video all about how to create a quiz in Google Classroom. If you liked this video, be sure to give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and I'll see you back here soon. Bye, friends.